You, sir, do you want to come back into this courtroom? You've been unmuted to answer that question.
Not until I can receive medical treatment for the bruise that I have on my arm and the cut. You just said a while ago on the record that you cannot see blood. That's because I wiped it on my pants and you can still see the blood in the cut and a big bruise right here on my arm. I was told that the nurse would be coming in to see me. And then I was told, no, she's going to come at the next recess, which we just took. I know it was technical difficulties why you called the recess, but that was more than enough time for me to at least be seen, at least get the cut cleaned out and get it bandaged.
A lot of people cannot forget how Darrell Brooks Jr. whined and pled, how he groveled, how he basically nailed himself to the cross over that little bruise on his arm, how he complained to the judge, to prosecution team, and to the world, how he made it seem like he was bleeding profusely from his arm and even showed the boo-boo to the judge. Was it just a pitiful attempt at getting Nurse Betty to come, to look at the bruise, to put a bandage on it, maybe to give it a kiss and tell him it would be all right? Or was he really in pain? Was it kind of like the shackles? I'm going to leave that for you to decide here on Everything Else Channel on YouTube, everythingelssechannel.com. But you hear how he was unmuted. You hear how Judge Dorrow was giving him the opportunity to come back into the courtroom because he liked to make it seem like he was banished, sent to that courtroom way in the back, all by his lonesome, where he couldn't properly put on a case, where he couldn't properly hear the comings and goings of the trial. But we know that that was just his alternate narrative. Him trying to pull a fast one over those of us watching in real time and watching months and years later. Because the one thing I can tell you here at the Everything Else Channel on YouTube, everythingelsechannel.com, is that this trial, like the Robert Blake trial, like the O.J. Simpson trial, is a trial that we'll be talking about for a long, long time. And we'll be talking about it because of the fact that Darrell Brooks Jr. had no remorse, has no remorse, and tried to make a complete spectacle, a laughingstock, out of the proceedings against him. What I think is interesting, though, is that not once or twice, but thrice, more than thrice, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, even when the judge said there would be no next time, there were plenty more. And in this clip, you hear Judge Dorrow tell him, do you want to come back? Lifeline after lifeline after lifeline. But him, the big baby, would not come in until he received medical attention. He made it sound like he had a gunshot wound, like he was having cardiac arrest, like he was having a seizure. He made it seem like he was bleeding profusely, ignored by the system, ignored by the court. This is the guy that plowed through a parade full of people. And he was complaining about a bruise on his arm. You stop to think about it, and you watch this stupid video and you hear all these songs that he made and that are still on SoundCloud and some of these other music websites. I don't know why they're there, unless, of course, they've been put there by a label that is maybe making money. I hope not. I hope not. But you just never know. But that persona that he puts out, that gang look that he puts out, a real tough guy. But then again, a real tough guy is not going to join a gang, right? Because gangs fight 5-on-1, 10-on-1, 20-on-1. Anybody that fights one-on-one doesn't join a gang. I mean, gangs don't fight fair, right? And maybe he wasn't in a gang. Maybe he was just, styling and profiling, you know what I mean? Trying to look the part. Clearly, he's not a tough guy. But it's just, it's one of those things that just kind of makes you scratch your head. I mean, did he think that the jury was going to feel sorry for him? Did he think, I mean, because, there are times during the trial where, to me, it seemed like he was trying to win, with like jury nullification. When he would tell the jury, you have the power, or he would tell the jury, you heard a lot has been said about this case. Now you're going to hear my side. I mean, there's two sides to the story. Then you see his mom, Dawn, who a lot of people want me to interview for Sight, Sounds, Flavors, or even for Everything Else channel, and I won't do it. I will not interview Dawn. And it's not, look, Dawn has every right to be sad as a mom, and I give her that, and I totally respect that. But for her to say that, when Dawn gave an interview to one of these local TV stations, she said that more should be done for her son, more should be done with people with mental illness, and they asked her if they thought that that what Darrell Brooks did during the Waukesha Christmas Parade was intentional or not. She said it wasn't. So I don't really want to interview Dawn, because it's one thing, to have the sorrow of a mother, but it's quite another to sort of try to, rewrite history and make your son who killed people and injured people and wreaked havoc on a community of innocent people seem somehow innocent, maybe by cause of mental defect, or didn't intend to do it, or somehow make him out to be the victim, or even make him to be one of the many victims. He is not the victim. He is the perpetrator. He is the person. He is the author of all the sadness. He's the horror of all the grief, of all the, So basically, I have zero interest, and I really don't want to interview Dr. Mary Edwards either, but especially not Dawn. But the thing is that to me, it just goes to show you that even somebody that's killed more than half a dozen people and injured close to 80 would have the audacity to try to make himself out to be the victim simply because he has a bruise on his arm, and he even points at it, and I mean, I don't see anything there, and it's the same thing with the shock device. How many times did he say he had a shock device and that it was under this table with the black mantle and nobody knew what he was going through? And he would complain about not getting enough hours to study the case, even though he fired two perfectly competent attorneys that were appointed by the state, paid for by the taxpayers. And, so it's just one of those things where, zero accountability for what he did during the Waukesha Christmas Parade, and zero accountability for even what he did during the trials. He just could not do wrong. In his eyes, he was always the victim. He was always the one that was getting screwed over by the system. You know what I mean? So again, to me, whereas this sounds funny, it's also ridiculous to cite a term that Darrell Brooks Jr. likes to cite quite a bit. He would say, "This is ridiculous. This is a travesty. Fast maneuvers," and whatever else he would say. But to see a guy, a spree killer like that, to see a guy like that complain about a wound, a scrape, whatever that was, I didn't see anything on his arm, is crazy to me. Somebody that's got tattoos, and a tattoo probably hurts a lot more than whatever bruise he had on his arm, but he used the bruise as a pretext to get on a soapbox and complain and try to draw some attention to himself, because this guy loves attention. What's interesting, though, is when he had a male judge, he didn't say one of two words. He's a total quiet guy, but, again, he had a female lead prosecutor and a female judge, and you couldn't get the guy to shut up for 2 seconds because, he was all big Mr. Tough Guy. He's a woman beater, you know what I mean? That's the tough guy that he is. But again, it's both hilarious and sad that somebody who did what he did would have the audacity to complain about not getting medical treatment for a bruise on his arm.